Marketing That Works is the podcast for business owners who want to move their brand forward so that they can bring in more sales and clients. I'm Danielle R, and I'm bringing you what I know from more than 12 years of experience in traditional and online marketing. I have created marketing strategies for businesses of all sizes, from multi-million-dollar corporations to early-stage online businesses. Remember, some marketers chase fads. I believe in mastering the fundamentals. Your marketing will grab your audience's attention when you start doing these 4 things in your content. In this episode, I want to introduce you to the 4 parts of the story blueprint. This is the signature framework I teach my clients inside my one-on-one marketing and messaging program. This framework is designed to help you include storytelling into your marketing that is beyond what you had for breakfast and what you did for the weekend. It is designed to go deeper than the new co-working space you discovered and start creating stories that actually are relevant to your brand and creates deeper connection. The way you are currently telling stories isn't converting people into clients. It isn't positioning you like an authority like it could be. Yes, we know that you love your morning coffee, but what's the deeper connection you have with your audience? What is that deeper story that you're trying to tell? The way you're thinking about storytelling is surface level. While your audience does love getting the info about what you're watching on Netflix and where you're going on vacation, you're missing a chance to paint a more meaningful image of yourself as a business owner. One that directly points to your values and how you live into them every day. The story blueprint process helps you to identify stories that hit all the 4 elements across both your personal and professional life. Following the story blueprint ensures that your story feels balanced and authentic to who you are. It is a tool that makes it easy for you to go deeper with your storytelling and use your stories to grow your business. And in this episode, I'm going to break down each element. Now, the first element of the story blueprint is your background. I want you to think of this as your comic book origin story, telling us how it all started. And the goal is to show people how you got to this point, both personally and professionally. The background element of the story blueprint tends to be difficult, especially if you're a coach. And that's because you've likely created your business to get away from a job or an industry you're no longer passionate about. And what you tend to do is start your story from where you're starting at right now, ignoring and leaving behind everything else. But telling your audience about your background gives perspective to the marketing you share. Your audience will see what you have to say in a new light and even begin to believe what you're saying is possible. Let me explain. I had a course creator client who was in the crafts and art space, and she had a very similar struggle of sharing her background. She was a teacher for many years, and after having her second child, going back to work just didn't work out for her family. So, while at home with her children, she started to explore doing more crafts, something she had always loved. And she started creating content teaching others how to do crafts for themselves, and unexpectedly started to build a brand. Now, when she came to me, she was finding it hard to showcase what made her different from all the other craft educators in her marketing. And of course, I said, let's go straight to your background. She hardly talked about her past as a teacher because she's not doing it now. She figured it doesn't really matter. She didn't realize what an asset that background as a teacher was and how it was influencing her clients' results. Most courses don't have the benefit of being designed by someone who understands how to create lesson plans that account for various learning styles and all these other elements that make a really good program. Although she wasn't mentioning her teaching background, she was embedding her teaching skills and philosophy into everything she created. And that is why the people in her programs were getting results. When we started working together, I showed her how this aspect of her story, her teaching background, was going to build more trust with her audience. Her audience would get to know her better and see how her background would be an asset to them. So for you, maybe you think that the master's degree you have isn't applicable to what you do now, Or maybe you think you should hide the fact that you started 2 other businesses before starting this one. But your ideal client probably does want to hear about it and associates it with credibility. This one part of your professional background adds a level of depth that's missing. The goal of your background is to give more context and more depth to your audience. Sharing your past experiences allows your audience to understand the perspective you're coming from when you give advice and opinions. So the next time you're talking about your offer, ask yourself how your background has helped you create this in a way no one else could. Now, the next element of the story blueprint is personality. Now, when you think about personality, you're likely thinking of some outgoing and quirky type of persona that you really have to perform. That's not what I mean. What I mean is showing yourself as a human being running a business. Just like sharing your background, showing your personality or your human side builds deeper trust and connection. People like to buy from people they trust, and stiff people who don't seem open don't give the impression of trust. Versus when you share your personality, you feel more open, and people trust those who feel open. This is why people buy from those who show personality in their marketing. And for people transitioning out of corporate environments, this can be a hard thing to do. In the corporate environment, it might not have felt professional to share all the aspects of your personality. You probably needed to conform and code switch. And if you're like me, you got good at it and you didn't even realize it. But your business is not your corporate job. You are the boss and you define professionalism. You're free to share aspects of your personality with your audience. You know all of this, but you're so conditioned to show up as your corporate, watered-down personality. And here's what happens when you show up to your business and your marketing with this corporate, watered-down personality. You start feeling a tinge of resentment. You'll start to wonder why you're feeling the same way about your business that you did about your job. You'll feel as if you aren't being yourself, that people don't really know you. Now, after working in the construction industry for a decade, sharing my own personality when starting my business was a struggle. I was stiff and formal, and everything I hated about marketing in my previous job. But the moment I started letting more and more of my personality shine through, people noticed. People that had been following me for months started engaging. People would mention something I said in my content on a sales call. All things that weren't happening before I showed my personality in my content. When I guide my clients through the personality part of the story blueprint, I help them see where they can inject more of their own unique style into their business. And when resistance shows up, I help them to undo the years of corporate conditioning by first acknowledging how keeping their personality small was a survival tactic in the corporate world. And then I take the time to get to know them as a person. I ask questions, get to know their story, and start to point out the parts of them that make them unique. I remember I had a client who had a technical background and was afraid that her tendency to be more math and numbers inclined would be a turnoff. Because in her words, people don't like math. But that was her gift. She's a math girly. So we worked on her leaning into that. We came up with a unique way for her to include that in a talk she had coming up. And when she gave the keynote talk where she leaned into her math girly vibes, she killed it. People absolutely loved what she had to say. And that's because it was true to who she is, and the people could clearly see her passion. That was exactly what people needed to hear, and it helped to build trust. So before you press send on your next post, honestly ask yourself, are you sharing the stiff and corporate version of yourself? Did you edit or censor yourself in that post? What is one part of yourself that you feel comfortable and safe sharing today? So far, we've covered background and personality. Let's get into the third element of the story blueprint. This is all about what phase of business and life you're at. Here's what I mean. Letting people know what's going on with your business, your direction, what's coming up, and reflecting on things that have happened personally. This is such a powerful tool because people love following the journey of someone they like. People love saying, I followed you since you quit your job, or I followed you since before you had kids, or I followed you since the first version of your program. The ups, the downs, the pivots, people love having this feeling of connection and intimacy with you. And you can say and be reflective without oversharing, without trauma dumping, without having people all in your business. You can share where you're at in a way that is actually helpful and productive. Again, like all other elements I'm sharing, this creates a feeling of intimacy between you and your audience. And what this type of sharing does is make people feel like they are a part of your community. When people hear from you about how you're making changes in your business, they feel included. This is how you feel like a person they want to work with, and not just another person selling and running a business. I show my clients how to create that feeling of intimacy without looking messy and in a way that still positions them as a leader and authority. And the biggest thing is sharing when you aren't in a raw state. Let's say you had something disappointing happen, like a launch didn't go the way you expected. Take time for yourself to process before sharing. If you feel led to share, go on and do that, but allow yourself to process it first. This is just good from a human perspective, not just a business one. And I'd share the same advice if you have something exciting happen. Celebrate and process it for yourself first, then share it with your audience and community. In either case, what you're better equipped to do is share from a place of perspective. And what I love about this share where you're at element is that it scratches the nosy part of people's brains and it offers transparency. Again, this doesn't mean you need to tell all of your business. This doesn't mean you need to be a complete open book, but it does mean knowing what areas of your journey you're willing to share. Okay, so now we've covered your background, made sure that you have personality front and center, and highlighted the phase of business you're in. So the final element of your brand story is your values and philosophies. Honestly, I wouldn't be a good marketing person if I didn't tell you to share what you believe in your marketing. I also wouldn't be a good Hamilton fan if I didn't say, if you stand for nothing, bird, what will you fall for?
Incredible.
I believe in mastering the fundamentals, and this is as fundamental as it gets. People make buying decisions based on goals, values, and philosophies. I've seen people decide to buy a toothbrush because it's sustainably sourced. If people make that kind of determination on a toothbrush, imagine the kind of consideration people take when spending thousands of dollars. And sharing those values and philosophies acts as a filter. The people who stay on your email list and the people who keep following you on Instagram after you shared where you stand are people who are willing to hear more about your perspective. But from a story perspective, your values and philosophies ground everything. When your audience is clear on where you stand, they see everything you share from a new lens. I have a client who is a money coach, and when people think of money coaches, financial planners, or anything similar, they think of budgeting, saving, and cutting expenses. But for my client, she is very clear that she wants the women of color she works with to focus on making more money. Her sharing this value filters out people who are only interested in managing money by cutting costs. And that's fine if people are filtered out, because the people who agree with her message that earning more money is better than cutting the weekly Starbucks run will be called in. This values element is one where you'll likely say, sure, I agree, and then do nothing about it. But I've seen repeatedly that people buy based on shared goals, values, and philosophies. If you don't take any other action from this episode, I want you to publicly share your values and why they are so important to you. Then I want you to actually live into them in your business. So that's the 4 elements of the story blueprint: background, personality, where you're at, and your values. These 4 elements are the core foundation of any marketing strategy you're going to create. And what this does is help you to create a well-balanced marketing plan that will help you grow your business. You'll build trust and you'll build intimacy, which is so critical when people make buying decisions. You'll stop telling superficial stories that sound like everybody else online and start sharing stories that build a true connection and grow your business. Inside my one-on-one marketing and messaging program, The Blueprint, I walk you through this exact process. You'll see exactly how your background that you think isn't relevant can be an asset. I'll help you uncover aspects of your personality that you should lean into when talking about your business. And we'll turn all of it into a powerful brand story that builds trust with your audience and turns them into clients. During this 3-month program, you'll get weekly support creating your brand story, integrating it into your marketing, and getting feedback on how you can make your story the best business asset you have for growth. Head to the show notes and book a call to work with me. On this call, we'll talk for about an hour about how you can start creating marketing that speaks directly to your dream clients using your story. All right, that's it for today, y'all. I'll talk to you next time. If you want more marketing that works right in your inbox, head to the show notes and sign up for the email list. You'll be the first to know how you can work with me on mastering your marketing.